Shkoyach, we're live. Okay. Every once in a while we hear that Torah Ohr, the Kutei Torah, you can't understand the Maimer without the. It's like it's Chinese. It's just words on the page. This is.
You know some lines from the Torah Ohr, nobody knows.
So this is such a Maimer. We have to a little bit. Yeah, let's take a look. So the pasuk says, "Im loy seidi lecha hayafa b'anashim." If you, the beautiful woman, don't know where to go, you don't have a shepherd, you don't know where to go. Tzei lecha be'ikvei atzayin. Go look for the footsteps of the sheep that were before you. Ure'i as gedi Isayich al mishkan Yisrael. Then you'll find where to.
Path, like
the pasture, whatever the right word, Mokim Mira.
The graze.
Yeah.
It's like the
Azar Posuk in Shir HaShirim.
the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, Azar Posuk. So he Niksiv, the Posuk says, V'rochel hoysa yifaster v'yifas mare. So the Mittler Rebbe asks, what is this? This is not appropriate. We're talking about the Ovis. We're saying, she was beautiful, so that's why he wanted her. What's going on here? What is this referring to? So he says like this, Pirush, Yefas Tayar, so we have two descriptions, Yefas Tayar, Yefas Mara. So one is B'tzir Ha'ivorim, that the dimensions are perfect. Lefit Chunosam B'midasam. In other words, the limbs of the body and then there's Yefas Mara. Yefas Mara is someone that has a glow, right? They look happy. There's like the people, within the 24 hours from the wedding, so the beziv v'heit cluster upon him, that their face is shining. What does this mean, beruchnius? Yeah. So v'hinei Rachel u'knesses Yisrael. Rachel is Malchus d'Atzilus. Malchus d'Atzilus is called Knesses Yisrael. It's the Shadish from where all the neshamas come from. Why is it called Rachel? Because it's bottled. Al Shem HaPosuk Rachel lifnei gezezeh na'alama. So we know that Sfiras HaMalchus is less lo migarmo klum. Sfiras HaMalchus is nothing. It's only it receives from the rest of the midas. It doesn't have its own quality. It's bottled. And that's what Knesses Yisrael, Malchus, the Neshamas, is just to receive from the Hashpah of Hashem. Va'inyan, what does this mean? So now it begins a Maimer. So let's just talk about this Inyan for a minute. B'chlal, when we say, if we come about it from this position, what does it mean, b'chlal, that the Eibishter has feelings? Gedula, Gvura, Tiferes. In other words, it seems to us that all feelings are they're human things. They're all about ego. A person, in other words, you could argue that the whole Indian of Midas is only for a Vayeitseh Hara. A Vayeitseh, like most people, why do they get emotional? Because their ego is involved. But if they have, let's see if there's something. Let's see. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, here. So it's all ego. In other words, someone who's very bitteldik person. So they don't have like these loves and these, right? They're not a passion and the habituldik mensch. He's not full of emotion. So there's a chidush here that in kedusha there's also midas. The Eibishter has midas. L'chashem magdula. By the Eibishter there's chesed and there's gvura. So there is such a thing as having emotions that are holy. It's not only in klippe, like we know it, like so now what Alter Rebbe is going to say when we talk about to be beautiful, the Evarim, he says that a person should be in a matzav of complete bittul, like Avram Avinu said, "V'anechi offer va'efer." When their ego is completely set aside, then they could experience midas that are kedusha dikim midas. What does Elikus want me to feel? Right? In other words, you see the poor person. So from a position of ego, a person could say, "Oh, here's someone. They need me. I can help them. I'm a person of means. They'll be grateful. I'm going to feel good." From a position of kedusha, Pashut, you have rachmanis on a person that doesn't have what they need. You have a feeling for them. You find out what they need, and you help them. Pashut, like the loch ba'asher u'sham, wherever he is, you help them out. So when a person, when our midas, when all of our midas are kedusha dikim midas, that means beautiful evodim. Right? When a person's ego is completely removed, they make it possible that their whole experience of life, their functioning, their learning and their thinking and their emotions and their behavior, the whole person is doing the way, the way.
But even after trying to make that comparison, Mara is something that has nothing to do with Midas, essentially.
Right.
It's something that's
Yifas Toyer. What I just described is Yifas Toyer. It's not the Mara. The Mara is this is the first one, the Evorim. So let's take a look inside how he's going to say it. The Inyan hu kihine ksiv nasa Adam b'tzalmeinu. So the Adam, Lemata, is created b'tzalmeinu in the form of the Eibishter. Upirush b'tzalmeinu k'mesher kosov al demus hakisei demus k'mare Adam. That the Eibishter has a human-like form, that he has midas, that there's meichin and midas kavyochel in the Eibishter. V'hu bechinas lecha v'aya hagdula v'hagvurochu v'kach hu b'nefesh ha'adam. So too, in a person, we could experience the 7 emotions. Not that he's not saying over here, our midas are nishtalshul from the Eibishter's midas. It's not what he's saying. He's saying we're capable of experiencing godly midas. That it shouldn't be ego-centered, but it should be centered on what the Eibishter would want. Ava v'yira, that we love the Eibishter, that we're in awe of the Eibishter. Now, the truth is, ein haroich, you can't compare midas ha-nefesh, the midas of a human being, she'ipalas gevul, l'gabe midas of Yisbarach. How could you compare? Shu ein sof, l'midas of ein sof. So, kadei she'yoyr al nafshi eiro ava be'edin sof baruch hu. That we should truly be able to have that ava, like the Eibishter's midah. So, tzadich liyah is v'chinas bittul ha-nefesh b'metzias elav Yisbarach. A person has to be mavatal themselves completely. So first I said that I presented the inyan of bittul just to allow ourselves to experience kedusha dikim midas. Now the Alter Rebbe is saying something deeper. Whatever you want is limited. I want something. There's a limit how much I'm going to pursue it. You go by a store, you see a nice car. You say, "Oh, I love that car." You say, "How much is it?" $200,000.
You don't love it that much.
Okay. No, okay, it was a nice thought. It's right, it's beyond, it's not shaykh. So now the Alter Rebbe is saying all our midas are limited. But if a person is mavatal themselves completely, then we also get a gift that the midas that we have become intense in a way that's beyond us. In other words, the Eibishter's midas find their place in our heart. That you see a person, that their drive and their passion it looks like it's not, like it's unlimited. Somehow it seems unlimited. Shehu li is beginnes offer v'daimen lagabi erin seif baruch hu. Right? That a person is completely bottled. Uke maimer v'nafshi ka'offer lakel tiyah. V'hu beginnes offer asher bekarka mishkan. Every person is a mishkan to the Eibishter. In the Mishkan, one of the things we find, the Pasuk speaks about the dust, the sand at the foot of the Mishkan. The Mishkan is built on top of the offer. So he says, that's the offer. Through this bittul, tia nafshe mochin u'mishkan lo'er ba'erein seif baruch hu liyes b'bchinas b'tzalmenu that are b'tzioroi vorim abba v'yire machshava d'buru maise, that the whole person is bedugma shel mailo. This is the way it is by the Eibishter. Oh, zeu b'chinas yifastoya. This is the shape, symmetric. Sheyitaru bom kol hamidus b'shleimuson u'v'yofion k'mei shehem lo mailo chulu. Yeah, I think in Hillel-Paricher, I'm not sure where it is, maybe in Teras Chaim, he says that when you make a drawing, so the drawing compares to you draw a tree, but everyone understands that the drawing is that it's not right. It's ein aroich. So he says we are like the drawing, right? We're like a picture of what by the Eibishter, he's the real midas, and we have like a picture of it. But it's a good picture. It's right. The symmetry is the same. Now, so that's the inyan of Zeo. This is the meaning v'rachel hoysa yifastoya. What does it mean hoysa? Shebechinas yifastoya zehu al yidei bechinas rachel. It's through bittul the inyan of rachel expresses like a lamb that it's silent. What is it about? Rachel lefnei deizeh that it's a bittul brings about yifastoya. So
really the midas are there the whole time. They're just covered over by the external, the guf, which is in this case it's the arrogance or the yesh. And when you remove the bittul, when you remove the yesh, so therefore you're able to see what's already there. Or by removing the bittul, you're bringing in now a new element of the midas of what's coming down from above.
Right, so I would say that it's a very good question because of what happens soon. But I think that in this step of the Maimer we're speaking about, is going to describe it as chitzonius. So there's no such, like right now, there's no such thing as something that's it's there but it's hidden. In other words, either you're doing it or you're not doing it. Right? In other words, you have potential too. We're not talking about potential. What are you doing now? You're doing a good thing or not a good thing? What are you feeling now?
Right, but midas are something that's not created from scratch, right?
There are two types, right? That in Tanya, you have midas that are noilad me'aseichel, you have midas that are betel.
Okay.
So when a person, the midas that he's talking about here, are midas that are noilad me'aseichel. This piece of the Maimer is the part that you develop. It's not born in the nature. It's not that it's just covered up and you have to reveal it.
But so then, how do you, like, the fact that we're saying that we're a representation of the Eibishter, so then we should be those midas. It's only that our guf, it doesn't allow it. So
when a person,
because we're creation of the Eibishter, therefore we have the ability to reach those levels or to be like him.
No, what he's saying is, by having bittul,
right,
we could become a vessel
okay,
for those midas.
But it's a question because essentially we're trying to say that we are created from like a mirror image of those midas. So therefore we should be those midas only because.
Right, but it's only through bittul.
It's only through
In other
bittul.
words, yeah, he's
So you don't. So it's not automatic. So it's not that we're created without the bittul.
What does it mean? B'tzalmeinu, that we have the potential to embody the midas of Hashem. A person could learn Torah. He hasn't been learning. In other words, what are we full of? That's what, when he speaks about this idea of the symmetry of the whole body and being filled out with, like, that your seichel is in the right place and your midas are in the right machshava, dibur, u'maisa.
That's
right?
avoided. That's not.
Right.
That's
This
not.
is that the person is bringing in a real way. They're bringing the Eibishter into their life practically.
Ideal.
Right. Yeah. So that's the one in. Then he says, so now he's going to minimize all of this. This is, it's external, meaning it's not my essence. It's what I have to make. Right? I'm bringing this into me. But there's something deeper. What happens at the essence of the Jew? What's by the pintel yid? Shehu. There's the pnimius. The pintel yid is a spark from the Eibishter. Is bechinas ha'orah. Mipnimius eirin seif baruch. It's a spark from atzmus and mohus. The less machshava tfisa beichulu, meaning you can't access it by all those other things. It's not about what you learn and how you feel. It's beyond all of that. From that place, shemishon leknesses Yisrael nikra yefas mana. What does that do? By the way, this is in today's chitas. The Alter Rebbe speaks about shema yitzir mitzcha da'ak. When a person is happy, it's visible on their face. We don't know. The fact that you are able to observe that person is happy doesn't explain why. Right? Like when you see someone and you say, oh, I think he's up to something. Right? I see something in the face. What happened? You won $1 million? What happened? Yavi the Gemara gesagt hat, and he says, Doimen tenechem kemegadle chazerim. He had red, rosy cheeks. He's like, what's going on? What's the story with you? So you're saying here that to have a shining face.
So remember, posuk like a lot of.
Yeah. So
He's saying that there's a physical change to the body from an emotional state.
Oh, so what Alter Rebbe explains is that the face, you see it on the face, but it's not the body. In other words, the experience that the person has is a completely spiritual experience. The state that's being projected on the face is not the guf, it's pnimius. Somehow, right, and only the face has the capability to express it. And remember when we were learning that Maimed and Bereshis without this contrast about animals and like the combination of the nefesh and the guf by animals and people. So I don't know. People who breed horses, they could also read their emotions. Okay. Right? In other words, they're more.
You got kicked in the.
Right.
No, these guys are paid a lot of money.
In other words, that you could see when they're happy, when they're sad.
Because they're radiating a specific emotion. They're radiating.
In other words, there's
a physical.
Right. There is something in the eyes, the face that you could detect, but the human face. The capacity, the breadth of expression that the human face could express, that's only by a human being. Such incredible.
The amount of emojis is just.
Right? And those.
Faces synchronous. You can be hype inside, or you can fake.
Okay,
good, but that's not what.
That's not what you're making. It's saying about from the emotional state. There's a reaction. It's not about you creating it.
He's
You
saying
don't
that-
have to. Like when you tell someone something and all of a sudden he starts to smile. Meaning it's an automatic thing.
It's visible on the face, but it's not a physical experience. It's not an expression of your physical state. It's not like about your health. It's an expression of your pnimius. It's gilui ahelim. And it's gilui not in the sense that it explains to someone what's going on inside of you, but that now people know that you're... Let's take a look. Let's see how he expresses
Neurons.
it. It says, yes. This ha'ara, which we talk about, the shining face, Shemishon, L'Knesses Yisrael, that's the Yefas Mara. What's the Yefas Mara? Shehu Ziv HaKlaster Ponim, the radiance of the face. Shelochein Nikra B'Shem Ponim. That's why the face is called Ponim, because it's the inside. Shehapnimius Mizgalaboy. Kamei, like the Gemara says, Tzavu Ponov. He found a new Tesefta. He was so excited he found a new Tesefta in the base Medrash. Vehu Inyan Mashakosov. That's the meaning really when we talk about Birchas Pehamin. And we say, Yoir Hashem Ponov Hulu, that Hashem should be pleased when He sees us. It should make Him happy that He sees us. Ukadei Shetiya Knesses Yisrael Mekabelas. In order that we should receive that light from the Pnimius, who gamke machmas bechinas rochel, it's also the inyan of bittul. What does it mean? It's the inyan of bittul. It's setting aside our. Before he was speaking about to be humble, that nothing matters to me. V'nafshi ka'afar lakol. What does it mean? I have no needs. Right? Here he's going to speak about going against our nature. So he says like this: when a person goes against their will in the lowest in Maisa, right? In the lowest behaviors, in practical, the way we live, that becomes connected with Soiviv. Like when the Alter Rebbe speaks about Eskafia, he brings that Zohar, that is Istalig the Yikar the Kuchabricha B'Kulu Almin. So that B'Kulu Almin, that's what he's saying here. Shal Yidei Nimshacha HaHaore Ha'al Yoino Hahi Mereish Kol Dargin Ad Soif Kol Dargin. That level, that all that's beyond the world, he says, Umitachas royoy zoylom, from the lowest to the highest. This is the meaning of Hayofa Banoshim. So, what I was saying before, when I started the Maimer, it's very, very cryptic. It's like he's speaking in Ramazan. There's another Maimer with Alter Rebbe in Tafkuf Samach Daled, the Rebbe's Metzayin, like another version of this Maimer, but the Alter Rebbe speaks about it more. That through Iskafia, in other words, what's he saying? How does the beauty come? Where does that shine come from? The Bechom Oitcha. He brings here twice Ma'id. Yeah, let's see. Okay. So he says, V'zehu hayofa b'anoshim. That's the beauty. When he asked that question in the beginning of the Maimer, what's going on over here? The obvious, they're into beauty. That Rachel was beautiful, so he wanted Rachel. He says, this is the meaning. Pirush Yefas Toyar, Yefas Mara Hanal. This Indian of Yefas Toyar, that their whole, the thought, speech, and midas, seichel midas, machshav d'b'romaisa are all aligned with the Eibishter, and Yefas Mara, that the joy of our neshama comes out. Right? It's like when a person.
So how do you explain?
What do we say? Nafshi ivisicha. Right? That Hashem, you're my life, so I desire you. The Eibishter is the root. Why is life so special? You know, like the Rebbe said, What do you mean? This body, with this hand, you could do a mitzvah. You can't do a mitzvah with it. Right? Without this, what's a neshama without a guf?
It's done between Leah and Rachel. Meaning, it's great. That's the point. So you're seeing the inner person.
The difference in Leah and Rachel he speaks about in the earlier Maimer about Machshava and Dibur. That's another
but
in
this part, like I'm saying,
so here
afterwards Rachel claims that Leah is better than her, you know. So
yeah, it's a different avodah.
It's volunteer.
So he said, "V'zeh shekosov im loy seidi loch." If you're missing the beauty. Pirush shaloi nimshach b'chinas hayafa b'nashim hanal b'chinas das shlema. When a person is missing that inyan of connection to elikus, skip the parentheses. Ach zois ha'etza hayutza. So if a person is missing it, if a person both the chitzonius and the pnimius, what do you do? So tzei lecha be'ikvei atzayin. You have to go follow the previous. I think Rashi says that you should follow the footsteps of your parents, those who were shemer Torah mitzvahs. But here, what the Alter Rebbe says, the idea of going out is to burst through. I think the Mittel Rebbe brings a bunch of psukim, like when you say Hashemesh Yotza, right? You have different places in Chazal, but this idea is that there's like a bursting through. That's something. So he says something has to go out. You need something that's l'mayla me'eshtalshlut, that's going to break out of the comfort zone, break out of the ordinary. So, and he says vir tzoin miloshen tzei keloim ar davar hayoytzeh, something that protrudes, it goes out of the ordinary. The hainu bechina hayoytzeh milmayla miseder ishtalshlut, and that's the inyan of tzoin lavan loivin ha'elyon. In other words, the highest darga beyond his talshulus. He says, "V'kol ha'aveda she'avad Yaakov v'lavan sheish shanim b'tzeinecha." That's what Yaakov kept trying to do. In very simple terms, when we talk about what brings a person to have real radiance, right? It's a very deep inner pleasure. In other words, you have people that have fun. Everybody has, something gives them fun. They have a good sandwich, they're happy. In other words, you have low level happiness. But then you have like true inner joy, true inner peace. That's like the deepest einig in the neshama. Right? Like, you have this, we learned it in Yeshiva, and we talk about Samach Vav. There's Tainug Amurdish and Tainug Bilti Murdish. Just at the deepest level, when a person is completely at peace. So that's when the Yaakov's avodah was to try to tap into that deepest space of einig. Sometimes when people just talk about like when a person talks about being calm, so it makes them calm. When a person speaks about not needing other things to excite them, so just talking about it, it helps reorient. Like, okay, Yaakov Avinu, his whole, we're looking for what is the real shoyrish of einig in my life, in the world. Where do I get it from? Forget about all the gashmias and everything, just at the deepest level to be connected to the Eibishter. So, the Hain beginnes, wo beginnes Tzoin Loven? So, Kol Avodah Hain beginnes Shishe Sidre Mishnah, Sheheim beginnes Tzoin. That Torah is Yotzu v'nimshuchu me'oineg ha'elyon. What is Torah? Shashuim is the Eibishter's inner pleasure. Asher kitshanu b'mitzvayso, that the Eibishter Asher is einig. Hu bechinas einig, mishkasa v'makam acher. V'teirish shabal peh nikra peret. Peret from the word like nishir, like nosher. Yeah? The grapes that fall. Miloshem peret v'eleilis shenimshechu shaleik seder ha'ishtalshalos, that it fell to us, these shashuyim of the Eibishter. It didn't fall me'ila le'ila, rak b'derech peret v'eleilis, it just dropped out of the heavens for us. V'zeu v'ayifretz ha'ish ma'oid ma'oid, v'ayhilei tzayin rabbis, shehimshech bechinas tzayin rabbis, ayidei bechinas ma'oid ma'oid. Through going against his will, he received, he had many yitziyos, many bursts of einig, many bursts of l'mayla me'ishtalshalos. Ki bechinas uvachol ma'oid cha usually hu bechinas ma'oid shelcha. Kol chad lefum shiuri delay. Ma she'en kein ma'oid stam. Yeah, when you, ma'oid cha means your ma'oid, it's out of your comfort zone. But when you say ma'oid, it's beyond any limit. And then there's ma'oid ma'oid. Ubchinas ma'oid legabe kol abchinas ma'oid. So the Alter Rebbe is speaking, obviously, fantastic madregas. Upirish ha'posab vayifretz ha'ish ma'oid ma'oid. Why is that? Lefi sheparatz vehirba l'maylo madrega l'madrega adrei ma'maylis. Lefichach hirba lahamshich pinas tzayin b'chinas rabba v'gova ma'oid ma'oid nailam e'esa baruch u'mamish. Vayeitseh drew down him shagam b'chinas shvachas v'avodim. So he explains Vehine. Yaakov, you know all of our Shalom, the fish. So now he's saying, how does this all work for us? He says Yaakov, the fish b'chinas merkava, because he was completely bottled to the Eibishter. So by him, through his avodah, himshich b'chinas tzayin ayidei avodaseh, and ve'al yidei uvda the makles with the tefillin. V'chein al derech zeh chafiras abe'eres. All of that he was able to achieve because he was a Merkava Tatzilus. By his own doings, he's going back now to Shir HaShirim. We don't have the power to invent. Remember, we had this discussion by one of the Mamorim right in the beginning. Why do we need Torah mitzvahs? A person could have their own path to feel spiritually connected to the Eibishter. There's an Eibishter, he created me, I feel connected to him, I'm going to be spiritual. Why do I have to put on tzitzis and things like that? So he says the Avis, they could do that taka. By the Avis, they could feel a connection. Their connection, it taka works. But by us, ein lanu keach zeh, we can't be mamshech alikus. So what does he say in the pasuk? You have to follow in the footsteps. Elo b'ma shemuchan kvar liyes sham amshachas erin soiv baruch hu. You were here Shabbos morning. Yeah, what was Alter Rebbe saying? That mitzvahs are prepackaged. Right? It's like you're buying the arts and crafts from the store.
Yeah.
Anyone who follows the instructions, they're going to get that result. You don't have to be handy or... it's already there. It's a formula.
Like a token.
Yeah. And that's what he's saying here. Torah mitzvahs, here he's speaking about Torah also. You don't have to have such bittul and such skafia and such dveikus. He says, do what's already existent. There's a paradigm. The hainu b'chinas Torah mitzvahs haniten lanu. So when we do mitzvahs, every time we do a mitzvah, we're bursting out of our ordinary selves, of our yeshus, every mitzvah is a yitziyah. And that's called the ikvei atzayin. That's taking those steps. B'chinas ikvayim seif dargin. We, at the end of history, at Ikvas of the Mashiach, we're following the paint by number. The Hainu, Teiru mitzvahs, Hamuluboshin b'inyonim gashmiyim. We do these physical things. She'al yodom ure'i es gediya isayich. By doing this, we guide our mazel. He says the word God means mazel. There's a Mishnah. Gediya isayich ema hamazolis. Miloshin gad gedi v'sinoik loy. The Lashon Gad Gedi V'Sinik Loi is my mazel should be good and don't be tired. Sinik is to be tired. V'Sinik Loi. It's written like poetically. So Gad Gedi, my mazel should be a good mazel and don't get tired. V'Sinik Loi. Ukemoi, there's a pasuk. Ha'erechim legad shulchan. The pasuk speaks about people who serve other gods, and then one of the ways that it describes them is that they prepare food for God, for the mazolis. He says, "Kikol advarim sheba'ilam hazeh im tachas hamazolis." Everything is guided by a spiritual force. There's mazel machkim and there's mazel mashir. So basically, when we do Torah mitzvahs, we are guiding the mazolis for the things that we need. We're not serving the mazolis. The mitzvahs will rule the mazolis of how we should live. The same thing is mimeget voice shamash. So what does it say about the voice shamash? What does it say about the nutrition that comes from the sun? It says mazel hashemesh. That's mashpiat voice. The hainu Torah mitzvahs, hameluboshim b'inyonim gashmiyim, hanesunim tachas hamazolis. How do we guide it? Through Torah mitzvahs. Why? Because Torah mitzvahs are in the physical world. So then what does the pasuk say? Re'i uparnes oisam. Feed them, be mashpia on them, me'oineg ha'elyon. From that space of incredible tainug. Al mishkanos haroyim. By the power of the shepherds, by the power of the Avos, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Tirush Royim, Zayin Royim, Avram, Yaakov, Moshe, Chulu. And they're called Royim, al Shem, Shemam Shichin, Bechinas, Eineg, Ha'elyon, the Knesset Yisrael, that the Eibishter should find joy in the Yidden. V'hinei Avos Heinei Namakova, Aval Onu Ein Lonu Koyach Zeh. We have to do bechinas kelim mikelim shoinen. We have to take these vessels and yein malchus rav, which is chesed rei yamina, to do a lot of chesed, to give a lot of tzedakah, and that's the kli lebechinas Avram oyavi, to have avos Hashem, the hainu mitzvahs tzedakah v'chesed. The chein shisha sidrei mishnah zroyim is bechesed, and it's called mishkanes haroyim. Sham tira as gediya isayich. That's where we direct our hashpah. Al yedeize tiske lehagia velovoy lemadrega gedoyla mizu lias al mishkanes haroyim.
So how?
Ulemayla v'mchinas mishkanes ta'inu l'makom haroyim atzman. That we should be zoichet to the space of the office. Yeah.
So how does this is now we're saying how we channeling bittul, or it's we went off the bittul.
We went off, right. So in the beginning of the Maimer, the Alter Rebbe speaks about, like as if we're the others. Someone that's a fantastic neshama. That's how we connect to the Eibishter. Later he says, but we don't have this koyach. So the way to do it is, Torah is Yetzirah. Right? Going out.
But because the bittul itself is too complicated to have the complete bittul?
That we should be able, through our bittul,
to draw into us the midas,
all the midas of the Eibishter and the Meichin.
Is not happening. So through chesed, through being mamshech.
So through Torah mitzvahs, and then
mamshech chesed.
Yeah, then he takes it further. Let's take a look. Ubekol zeh, another few shuras. Ubekol zeh yuvan apasuk. Now we'll get to Leah. Now we'll understand the pasuk. Avadaticha arba esri shana b'shtei b'nei secha. Let's go back a minute to the inyan of the Tainuk. and really this goes back to something you were talking about before, and the Alter Rebbe speaks about it in the other Maimer, that the idea of the Pintel Yid is like one of the things that the Rebbe would speak about is that when you put people in their natural position, that's when they're the happiest, right? When, you know, like it's
a baby,
like,
when you swaddle them after.
Natural position. It's like the options.
It's their natural position.
right? In other words,
Their comfort zone.
That a child is with their parents. That's the way. They're not living in a kibbutz, in a colony with a collective, where everyone's eating in the same. All the kids are in one nursery. That's unnatural. When a person's in their natural space, that's when they're more right. So, what? Technically, a person could say, "What do you mean? What's missing?" Maybe in the house, maybe the parents they're too busy. Over here, when we structure it like this, there's going to be a lot of time for everyone. Someone's going to do homework with every kid. Right? In other words, if you look at the details, if you have like an itemized list
it could seem
of the
better.
needs of a person, so yeah, it's going to be better. And I'm sure that the people who set it up that way, there was in there, either in an overt way or a covert way, it was spelled out. It's going to be better. It's not only that the parents are going to be busy, but the difference that emerges is the pnimius, the atzmus, the pintel yid. Right? In other words, Yaakov Chavel Nachlosei, there's a string, the Roshei Ha'echad, that highest point is dislocated. Why? The person feels misplaced, even though the chitzonius is all right, but the pnimius is missing.
Because they're out of their comfort zone, they can't do anything right.
So
nothing
when
works.
In the first part of the Maimer, when he's talking about doing the right things, checking all the boxes, that's one thing. But how do we tap in to that, to the core, to the alignment with the essence?
That should be natural.
Right? That it should, and that's where the oinig comes from. That's this, and sometimes it's oinig bilti morgish, meaning I don't feel like I'm having fun, but I feel like it's right. It feels right. Right? It's not like, oh, this is so funny, I can't get over it, I'm laughing my head off. But I feel like when a person has a friend, that they just feel completely comfortable with them. It's not, I don't have to perform, you don't have to perform, we just hang out. So that's that connection to that. So now Yaakov, this Indian, the idea of the tzoin, the second idea that he's explaining in the second half of the Maimer, is that Yaakov's avodah was to express it. In other words, a Yid's connection with Torah, like one of the things about the Holocaust, people say, in the camp, some people, they had tefillin. And at night, prisoners would line up and put on, they would cheer and they would put on tefillin at night. Right? And someone says, are they crazy? How could it be?
So what? It's a mitzvah by day?
No, I'm saying, what
are you worried about?
They're trying to connect to the Eibishter. Or someone says, on Rosh Hashanah, we got a shofar. Says, you knew what day it was? How'd you know what day it was? You understand what I'm saying? People are living under conditions where there's nothing. Right? They have a calendar. Are you kidding me? But they know. This is Rosh Hashanah. How do they know? In other words, there's someone out there. It matters to them, and they're counting.
What's it called?
And it's
your biological clock. What's the?
So Yaakov Avinu, what he's saying is that Yaakov's connection with Torah, every time he connected to Yiddishkeit, that's what it meant to him. He felt that this whole other He spent 14 years by Shem Ve'ever. He made that incredible connection to Elikus. Then, when he went out in the world, he's dislocated. What am I doing here? So he's always doing these little seidi. I gotta break out. What am I breaking out? I have to remind myself we're the
Where's
true.
my source?
I, in my behavior, I have a job and I'm busy with the sheep and this is what I'm doing a whole day. Yeah, but where am I truly connected? That's where my etzem is. That's the tzei. That's the ikvei atzayin. And what the Alter Rebbe is saying is that when a person looks at Torah and mitzvahs and he says, what is, when I do a mitzvah, what am I doing? I'm connecting to that space of truth. This is where I really belong.
It's like the story with the Tzemach Tzedek and the Chassid that came dressed the other way.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, where are you?
Right? That's the inyan of a mitzvah. This also goes back a little bit to what we were learning last week. Right? That the Arizal was Zeiche B'Ruach HaKodesh because he had that incredible simcha that when he goes out in the world is a drag to him. When he looks at the world, he can never be comfortable. He's so uncomfortable in the world. Like, what am I doing here? And then, the mitzvah. That's the tzei. That's the ikvei atzayin. And what the pasuk continues is that through practicing Torah and mitzvahs in that way, we're going in the footsteps of the avos who are actually able to elicit Hashem's response. That atzmos u'mahus that can't be expressed in our thinking and in our emotions, but it was shining on them. Right? They looked. There was something about the way they looked that they were radiant. Like, sometimes you see a Pashat Yid, it's simple and it's brilliant. It's a lichtik. The face is shining. So that's the. Anyway, let's leave the maybe for Shabbos we'll learn the Hagah from the Tzemach Tzedek B'Kol Zeh. In Yitz Hashem. All right, Yeshua Koyach Yidin.